Good evening. The Planning Policy Commission meeting for Thursday, May 8th will come to order. First item of business is to welcome new members and alternates. And since we all haven't had a chance to meet, maybe the new guys could just pull the microphone on, because you'll be on TV. All the throngs at home.
We have something for that.
Oh, we have something for that?
Sorry.
Once again, the
Thwarted.
chairman is left in the dark. Because he's waiting for the throngs at home to come in. We got seats. Anyway, should we do approval of minutes first then? Or you want to do your thing first?
My thing?
Well, who's doing whatever you're doing?
I can start it. Because as Carl so well aptly said, not all of us know each other. So we're going to do a little game to help us remember names. Okay? I know it might be a little silly, but it's a good thing. Trust me. My name is Trish. It rhymes with fish. And my favorite thing about Issaquah is the people. Now the person next to me is going to say her name, and she's going to say my name and what it rhymes with, and she's going to tell me what her favorite thing about Issaquah is. I don't know if Susan has to do this, but she's giving me the look. No, Susan does not have to do this. And then we'll go to Ray. Ray will say this woman's name, what it rhymes with, your name, what it rhymes with, and what's your favorite thing. We're going to go, so you only have to remember the names of the people next to you, but hopefully it'll give you some memory, muscle memory, so that if you see us in the grocery store next week, you'll say, there's Trish, and it rhymes with fish, and her favorite thing is the Issaquah's people. Okay? Are we ready? And then Carl, if you're really up for it, then you have to do everybody's name because you're the chair. How about that one? We'll see how it goes. I'm Trish. It rhymes with fish, and my favorite thing about Issaquah is the people.
You are Trish. It rhymes with fish. Your favorite thing is the people. And, I don't have to say that. My name is Kristen. It rhymes with piston. And my favorite thing about Issaquah is the sunset exit when you drive up and you just see the Alps, Tiger Mountain right there. It's really cool.
Very good. Ray.
My name is, your name is...
You got to turn your microphone on, Ray.
Microphone over with the red dot.
You see?
There you go.
Okay, my name is Ray, rhymes with play. Your name is... Kristen. And your favorite thing is a sunset. Is sunset exit.
And what you see, yes.
Good. See how this is working out. All right. Next.
In English?
Either way.
My name is Brian. Rhymes with lion.
Good. And who's
My
that?
right is Ray, who could be called Jay.
Good.
You don't have to call me.
And your favorite thing, Brian, is?
Pardon me?
Your favorite thing is?
Golf.
Okay. That worked. It's fine.
About Issaquah?
Good luck.
Brian rhymes with lion. He loves golf. And my name is Bill. Rhymes with pill. I guess I probably should do this. My favorite thing is walking and riding my bike around town because I just live right here on the flat part.
My name is Mike. I guess I'll say trike.
Mike, okay.
Rhymes with trike. This is Bill. The pill part is rhymes with pill. I think my favorite thing about Issaquah is the community.
My name is Laurel. It rhymes with snorrel. This is Mike. It rhymes with trike. My favorite thing about Issaquah is the preschool.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, I like the preschool system.
See, my name is Susan. I've been trying to think of something that rhymes with Susan. Can't get there, so let's see. My name is Sue. It rhymes with foo. This is Flora. Flora?
Laurel.
Laurel rhymes with snorrel.
Yeah, it's better.
And I love salmon days.
Oh, good one.
My name is Chantelle, which rhymes with dental.
Talking about pill? Dental? I don't know. Did you think of
Rhymes
something?
with Chantelle. I think we were having troubles with that.
I can,
It's a good one, though. It's like orange. What rhymes with orange?
well, I'm trying to count that.
Right.
So it rhymes with something. And my favorite thing in Issaquah is walking around. It's walking.
Okay, Chantelle, that rhymes with something, walking around Issaquah. My name is Joan, which, bone or moan, you can take one of those. And the favorite thing at Issaquah is the fact that it's a big city but feels like a small city, and it's very unique in this community, this area.
Joan, Chantelle, Susan, Laurel, Mike, Bill, Brian, Ray, Kristen.
But did he forget his own name?
Ooh, there you go.
And the only thing I can think rhymes with Carl is Marl. And I don't remember what that even means. I think it's like a,
Colors, Marl colors?
I don't remember. But we could play Banana Man, a Mopan and Bean Pan, Mopani, whatever that song
We're
is.
going to do that for the public hearing.
Are we? Okay.
No, we're not.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And your favorite thing, Carl?
Oh, just living in Issaquah.
Okay, then. Well, on that note, this is great. Do you want to do the minutes now, chairperson?
I don't know. Am I supposed to do
Yes.
it? Okay.
It would be fine.
We'll now do the minutes. The first order of business, the minutes from February 13th. It was quite a while that had passed before we'd had a meeting, and the last time we went to approve the minutes, there weren't enough of us here to approve them.
The best of us were there.
Yeah.
That's why we had to get all the numbers.
So are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, minutes for the February
April.
13th are approved. Next item of business are minutes from April 24th, when we didn't have a quorum and couldn't approve the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
No.
I have a question in that, according to the minutes, you were going to prepare a letter for my signature.
Yes, I did.
Did you sign it?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And I did sign it.
You did, you loved it.
I thought it was wonderful. Is that why I gave you that check with my signature
No,
on
you
it?
have never given me a check.
Oh, that's a good thing, because she has my electronic signature.
I've got your signature, but I don't have a check.
Okay, that's the only question I got.
Well, they might leave. We got to be real careful.
They can't leave. The public is running in as we speak. Are there no additions or corrections? There's a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Minutes for the 24th are approved. Now we can move in to the item of business for tonight. Trish, the floor is yours.
And because this is such a big update that we're embarking on with the seasoned members and the new members, the Association of Washington Cities has done several videos to help communities that are working on their Growth Management Act comprehensive plan periodic updates. It's a long thing to say. And so two of them sounded, when I reviewed them all, two of them, they're real short, two of them seem like they'd be appropriate for you all to hear from other folks from other jurisdictions on how they're approaching their periodic update, some things to think about so that you don't just hear Kristen and I all the time, that you hear some other voices from other communities and what's worked for them and how they're sort of thinking about things. Because you'll probably hear from Kristen and I and then Jason later on a lot. So I thought this might be a good way to just sort of ease into it with some wisdoms from some other areas. And so there's just two. I think they're both maybe 6 minutes long. So and there's cookies here if you need a treat before you watch a video. Feel free to come up anytime and get some. The first one is
Comprehensive.
No?
Comprehensive plans are all about community, and each of your cities has its own character, its own vision, its own direction. AWC developed a series of short videos to help you prepare your GMA update. Each video contains a few key concepts and conversation
Can you make it
starters
louder,
that
please?
you can relate to your community. This segment looks at why your GMA plan matters.
Comp plan process is really an opportunity for the community to come together on their vision. 1995 wasn't that long ago, and 2035 isn't that far away. But as a city council member, I wasn't here in 1995, and I probably won't be here in 2035. So my job is to be a caretaker, and the job of the council is member at this point is to really understand and hear the voices of those who were here in 1995 and try to hear the voices of those who will be here in 2035. I'm a caretaker, and I think that's the job of the council. And I think as we look forward, this is about vision for both the history and the future.
Well, I think land use is the driver of so many things that we do in local government, so many things that we care about, so many things that are important to us. It drives so many issues in our community, things from population to quality of life, public safety, additional park amenities. There's not anything that I can think of that doesn't touch land use or it's not influenced directly by land use. Communities have the ability to make choices, and that's what the Growth Management Act and the planning process is all about. It's about making choices. We can grow and we can change the future of our city by choice and design or by chance. And I think most of us want to create that destiny for our own communities and take the route of choice and design. And I think in Bothell that there's nothing that we've done that has been revolutionary, but what we have done is more from a comprehensive nature. I haven't found a community yet that has done so much holistically in terms of its planning process related to its economic development efforts to revitalize a downtown. And so all the tools that are available to us under the Growth Management Act, we have utilized. And it's been very effective for us in terms of really working through the recession and now generating post-recession private investment in our downtown. There's nothing preventing a community that wants to use the Growth Management Planning Act as a springboard or a framework, if you will, to create a new neighborhood plan, to create a new vision or direction for its community. And the Growth Management Act has simply provided that for us. I would say that as communities look towards reimagining their own communities as part of the Growth Management Act process, know that change is possible, that it's really the responsibility, and I believe the privilege of local government to inspire their communities, that you can create the future that your citizens want.
It's an opportunity for us to engage in a conversation of why the Growth Management Act is important. Why does it matter? And I think that that is probably one of the most important parts of the comprehensive plan update, is to talk about why is this important, not just for our city, but for the region. Why does it matter that we plan for growth? And I think that it is really important now, all these many years after the Growth Management Act was passed, to remember why we do this. We want to welcome growth, not stop growth, not allow growth, not tolerate, but welcome it. We know it's coming, so how do we make the best possible town that we can?
The magnitude of growth that we will experience in Washington State is very significant, in excess of 1 million people probably in the next 20 years. The question in accommodating that is one, I suppose, not to get frightened by the numbers so much as it is to focus on what the numbers represent and how we will accommodate that growth. So if we look 20 years into the future and think about these numbers, we also need to think about what the job base might look like. how we will move people and goods within the community, how we'll provide the services we need, and to be able to have hopefully a thoughtful, honest, and rich discussion with our community about what this represents and how we will deal with that question. The reality is that these people are, they're not some abstraction in terms of numbers. They're us, they're our kids, they're families that are here because we have a viable economy. Sometimes it's important to think about the flip side. If we didn't have a viable economy and this was a ghost town, well, we wouldn't have those problems. So these are the kind of problems we want to have. The question is, what kind of community are we going to build to accommodate this growth, and what kind of job base and what kind of lifestyle do we want to have? Those are really the kind of sort of central gut questions that ought to drive our discussion and ultimately our decision in the comp plan.
Two things about that little vignette that I really liked is I thought that I liked it enough that I wanted to share it, is that he talked about being a caretaker, because so many of us, I guess I was here back in '95, but you know, I don't think I'm going to be here in 2031. I might, I guess, but maybe not. But the whole idea that we have to think out of the future for the community, and some people have trouble with that. They're planning their next vacation this year, maybe a family get-together, but the thought of 5 years, 10 years is just really hard for people to wrap their heads around. And so if we think of it as a caretaker, that we're getting the community prepared to take steps into what it's going to be in the future, I thought that was a good way to think about it. The other piece that I really liked is they're talking about the growth that's coming. And the good news for this group is that when we did the Central Issaquah Plan that we just adopted finally last year after many, many years of in-depth public involvement, we already figured out where the next 20 years of growth is going. And so we don't have to worry about the growth targets for this update, which is really great, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is where do you put all the new families and the people that are working at the jobs? Where do you put all those? And we as a group and a council adopted that already. So that's a good thing to not have to worry about. Now we just have to worry about making it the best place that we can, you know, when they all show up in the next 20 years. Are there questions about this one before I start the next little short one? Okay. And the reason I picked the next one, I guess, is kind of a selfish reason. When we adopted our comprehensive plan in '95, a long time ago it seems, but yes, just yesterday, we were one of the few communities that adopted elements that were not required. We were just overachievers even back then. And there was a little quiz in your packet on if you could tell which ones those were. We still have a couple that aren't required and that we're very proud of. And so this little video, they talked about that communities get to choose which elements they put in, and I just felt pretty proud that we chose right from the beginning that parks were very important to us, human services were very important to us, and cultural amenities were very important to Issaquah. And so we were kind of the front runners. And economic development actually wasn't required back then. And so we were way out in front even back in 1995. This also, one of the speakers is from our sister city, Sammamish, talking about how they're working on their update, and they have some neat ideas, and I just thought this was a really good one for us to see as well.
Comprehensive plans are all about community, and each of your cities has its own character, its own vision, its own direction. AWC developed a series of short videos to help you prepare your GMA update. Each video contains a few key concepts and conversation starters that you can relate to your community. This segment looks at your GMA choices, what's mandatory, what's optional.
Vision statements ought to be pretty broad, pretty high level, but they should emphasize the aspirations of your community. And they should reflect what you want to see in that community. If that plan is in fact implemented faithfully by the public sector and by the private sector over the course of time, that vision should be something that you want to see as an end product that 20 years from now. I think we'll see those kinds of new priorities like economic development, like sustainability. And one that I'm very excited about is the idea of community health. Healthy community is something that's very important to just about everybody who lives in Washington State. We're finding out more and more about how the built environment relates to issues of public health and individual health. I'm looking forward to how our comprehensive plan might in fact be a venue for us to talk about those issues more fully and find some new policy goals and hopefully some new implementation mechanisms to see our community even healthier 20 years from now. Sustainability is a very important subject in Sammamish. We spent about 2 years crafting a sustainability strategy, and I think it will form a nice basis for our upcoming comprehensive plan process that we'll complete by mid-2015. That element reflects a lot of local priorities. In fact, we were lucky enough to get a very strong level of public involvement in crafting our sustainability element. We had over 900 individuals from Sammamish contribute to our public involvement process for our sustainability strategy. So that's a good reflection of local priorities. I think each city will have different local priorities of interest. Some may emphasize energy conservation, others may focus on climate change or solid waste reduction. In Sammamish, a lot of ours focused on habitat protection, water quality issues, and energy conservation. Well, in some ways, like the sustainability strategy that's already been completed, we are now working on an economic development strategy, and I think we will plan to incorporate that into our comprehensive plan update. It'll be interesting to see how the policies and priorities that are coming out of that strategy will be reflected in the comprehensive plan. Again, it may be one of those overarching themes, or we may choose to make it a separate standalone element. We'll have to see what the best fit is. I think that's one of the nice things about the Growth Management Act is it gives you some local flexibility as to how you would actually manifest those local priorities in your comprehensive plan. You can both have things that are cross-cutting themes that would reflect several elements, for example, reflecting land use, housing, and transportation, for example, or you can have standalone elements that really speak for themselves.
The planning fabric of every community is made up of a lot of threads. There's the comprehensive plan, and that gets most of the attention, and certainly that's what that is the focus of the Growth Management Act. But really, when we look at it below the surface, there are a number of other plans in most communities. We can call them plans and systems or functional plans, but examples include water systems plans, parks plans, transportation plan elements, and there are others. And each community is a little different as to how this work gets organized. But the importance is that this work needs to be brought together under the comp plan, and the comp plan really provides an opportunity to revisit all of this work. First of all, there's a legal obligation that it has to be consistent, so that isn't and shouldn't be taken lightly. But the reality is that this is an opportunity to look at all of this as an integrated system. And the key to doing that is to make sure that the staff actually has the opportunity under the framework of the comp plan to make sure that these pieces work. Parks plan needs to work with the comp plan. Transportation plan needs to work with the comp plan. Water, sewer, and utility systems need to all work with the comp plan. And the reality is that these elements were probably developed at different times and probably serve multiple purposes. So this is really a wonderful opportunity to bring them together. So there is an integration, but it's a different piece and it's a different level of understanding at each of those levels, at the public level, at the Planning Commission level, and at the City Council level.
Another option for comprehensive planning or for planning in general related to economic development or other particular subjects is using sub-area plans. So sub-area plans, of course, under the Growth Management Act, are part of your comprehensive plan, even though they happen under a separate process. They're related and part of the plan, but they may have their own process and look at specific areas within a city. There are also, of course, functional plans that can be done. There can be other kinds of strategies that a city undertakes. For example, maybe you want an economic strategy that's at a more detailed level than what you would put in a comprehensive plan. That's possible too. You could decide later whether you want that to be an appendix in your comprehensive plan or something that's simply a standalone but obviously coordinated and consistent with your ultimate comprehensive plan. Whatever you do, whether it's improvements and updates to your plan, your regulations, your processes, celebrate the successes that you have. Revisit it, publicize it, and celebrate.
Okay. And that ends the video portion of our evening. The one piece I would reflect back, Cameron from Sammamish was talking about the vision and the vision in the plan. And what we shared with you in the handout was the vision of the land use element. Each of the elements of the comprehensive plan has a vision for that specific element. The plan itself doesn't have a vision for the whole city. The city council has a vision for the city that they adopted in 1990, and they talk about updating it every now and again. But that's different than the actual land use element vision, the transportation element vision, and so I was requested to share the city vision with you before tonight, but I was worried that it might be confusing because there might be too many visions. And tonight we just wanted to focus on the land use vision to get you acquainted with the land use element. The city's vision is pretty neat. I reread it again tonight with the guiding principles and all that, and they're all pretty valid still. I mean, it was good stuff back in 1990, and it still resonates, at least with where I think the community is. And so I wanted to let you know that if you all start talking about the vision, make sure that you know what you're focusing on and that you're clear on which piece fits into where. And so with that, are there any questions before we actually launch into what we hope to get through tonight? Okay, I'm glad no one's gone screaming out of the room yet thinking this isn't what I signed up for. That's a good thing. See if I can get this started. Oh, I should just hit the button. That always just scares me. Down here? Okay. Tonight's goal is so that you'll understand what the Growth Management Act, that lovingly we call GMA, that you'll be able to talk about that. Next time you're at the grocery store, you can say, what about that GMA? And people will know exactly what you're talking about and why we're amending our comp plan now. We're hoping that you have a good understanding of the land use element, why it's important, why we're working on that first. And we're hoping that by the end of tonight that we have a complete list of goals, or at least we have an idea of what that complete list of goals for the land use element might look like, based on what we have today and what we think we need to add and what you think we need to add. So that's what our hope for tonight is. Okay. GMA. What is it? Back in the 90s, Washington was growing like crazy. Any of you that were here then, houses were selling overnight. You might look at a house to buy and it was already sold by the time you got the appointment to look at it. I mean, we were just bursting at the seams and the utilities weren't catching up, and finally the state legislature said, this is crazy, we're wrecking our own wonderful place with the growth that's not managed well. And so they provided Growth Management Act. It came actually as an initiative. The citizens had an initiative first, and then the legislature, they weren't completely happy with what the initiative was going, the direction, and so they said, wow, we better get moving or else the initiative is going to be the way that we do planning. And so the legislature figured it out as best they could, and it's all about regional coordination. It's all about cities and counties and working together to figure out how to manage the growth. It's all about setting up urban growth areas where the urban growth and urban services are supposed to happen, and the rural areas are supposed to be more protected and more low density without sewer and water and those kinds of things. It was pretty fabulous. It was, I think that we were third here, Oregon being first and for Florida being second to do growth management. These were the state goals, and you can tell just by the list of them, you can imagine what the problems were that made them come up with these 14. And they all make sense still this many years after. If you can imagine that there's 14 in the state, I was thinking the next slide. From these 14, almost half of them are addressed in the land use element. That's how important the land use element is it has almost all of the growth management goals are required in the land use element. That's why we're starting with that one first. We've had different schedules for periodic updates. The last one we had was the first one was 2001, the next one was 2006, and now they're saying the next one will be in 8 years. After, I think the 2015 is when they start counting the 8, but we'll see if we really have 8 years or if they'll change it. We just change it when they tell us to change it. It gives us a good time to look over those elements. Like, for example, Jonah and I were talking about the cultural element. We haven't touched that since we first adopted it. So that one will need some dusting off and giving it a good look. That's one of the ones that we haven't touched since. Things that we do every year we figure out from the state. They give us new population counts. We work with them on that, and so every year everything that has to do with population gets rolled into the new state numbers for us. So every year we do that. Same with the housing units. If we have any new land, if the city owns any new land, like the new parkland that we've just received, we rezone it to make sure that it's taken off the rolls as residential, let's say, and we just get credit for it as parkland. We do that any year that we have it. And then growth targets, we do those whenever we get handed growth targets, and hopefully we don't have to do those for a while. Our growth targets now were consistent up till 2031, so we hope, and we just approved those I think in 2009, so we're hoping we don't have to do that for a while. That's a pretty exciting time when you have to figure out where the next generation has to go. The things we've done recently that will make this update not so hard for us, I was mentioning the Central Issaquah Plan where we've accommodated our growth targets. That was just adopted last year. The Lakeside Development Agreement up on the hill near Issaquah Highlands was just adopted also in 2013. The Laurel Development Agreement, which is actually within the Central Issaquah Plan, was adopted in 2011 that has some growth attached to it. We're working on a development agreement with Costco. We're not quite done with that one yet, but that's going on. That's also in the urban core of the central plan. And we're in the midst of annexing the Lake Sammamish State Park. We wouldn't own it. I just want to make that public because people get confused with that. But it'll be under our jurisdiction for anything like permitting and that kind of thing. Right now it's in the county, so the county deals with all the jurisdictional issues, but we're in the process of annexing the state park, so that's kind of exciting. So all these things help us in that they're already underway, so we don't have to worry about them in the periodic update. We have 9 elements. As we said before, some of them were extra that we did just because they were important to us. We're starting this group with land use because it's the most important. It's sort of the heart and soul of the rest of the plan. Everything has to tie back into the land use element. Some of them are fascinating elements. Some of them are not really my favorite, but they're all important in their own way, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with all of them. Our strategy for this, and I don't know, Kristen, whenever you want to come up, you're welcome to come up and help. But this is the city, this is our wonderful city, and we've broken it into, I shouldn't say broken, we have divided it into areas, sub-areas if you will, central being right in the middle, central being, as you mentioned before, it's flat, it's bikeable, it's walkable. We're hoping someday to have a beautiful green necklace of parks and trails from Creek to Creek State Park to Confluence Park, and that's just going to be a marvelous jewel for us. And you'll probably recognize some other areas, Tiger Mountain and Park Point, Tiger Mountain, those are preserved areas. The good news about this map is that, as I said, Lake Sammamish State Park and Tiger Mountain already have plans for them, so we don't have to worry about that in this update. Also, the urban villages that we have, Tallis, Highlands, and Lakeside, already have development agreements, and their goals and policies are already set out for their 20-year life, so we don't have to worry about that in our periodic update. Central Issaquah has already been done recently, so we'll kind of be tweaking things to fit in with that, but we don't have to worry about updating that yet because we just adopted it. And Old Town is a special one, really special. When we first adopted Growth Management Plan in '95, the council said the first sub-area we're doing is Old Town because it's the heart and soul, and we want to be sure before we start planning any future that gets our special attention. And we're hoping to do that same detailed dive-in focus, a lot of public involvement next year once we're done with the periodic update that the state's requiring. So we have that sort of on the list that we're not going to get to dive into Old Town this year. We're certainly going to look at it for the periodic update, but we're not going to get up to our ears in it like we want to next year to give it all the love and attention and really focus on it like we did when we first did the sub-area plan. So I wanted to mention that Old Town's the next one up, we hope, for a big focus next year in 2015. Which leaves these areas would be the pieces and parts that we'll have to pull in for the periodic update. These areas haven't really been looked at in any big detail. North Issaquah and Providence Point, Greenwood Point, we annexed in the recent history, so that was the last time we really focused on any of those. So it really, when you look at the city and what we're actually working on in the periodic update, it's not quite so overwhelming if you think of, wow, if we had to do the whole city. We really don't have to do the whole city. We just have to make sure that the pieces and parts are tied in. So hopefully that makes it look a little less overwhelming. I know it does for me. Yes, Chantelle.
So you had a list of all the different areas of the comp plan. Are the commissions and board working on some areas, concurrently working on some of that? Or?
That's another slide. You are such an overachiever, Chantelle. Yes. Is that the next? Oh, that was the next one. You were looking ahead. You all are the guardians of the comprehensive plan. Big responsibility, but you are the guardians. Every other board and commission feeds into you with their recommendations on how they think things should work. For example, the Arts Commission will tell you what they think about the cultural plan. The Human Services Commission will tell you what they think about the human services element and the housing element. The Parks Board will come and tell you what they think about the parks element. They're all advisory boards, and you're an advisory board, but you're the guardian of the whole plan. And so it's really exciting. You guys really have the best seat in the house. Truly you do.
Trish?
And yes?
I know that we're not talking about Old Town.
Correct.
But the cultural element that the Arts Commission is going to be talking about is going to encompass Old Town.
Yes.
Does that pose a problem, or?
I haven't seen what you guys are thinking about yet, but I don't think it will. I think what we're hoping to do, we're going to update everything this year, but our plan is, and of course we haven't seen it yet, but our thought is that to really dive into it next year and figure out the parking, the signage, the design, all the pieces that have kind of languished while we were doing the central plan, to sort of update all the, the transportation circulation, the historic pieces, how to get the parks, and, the in-depth, because we only have this year to do all of this, whereas we could spend all year on Old Town and not be done yet. I mean,
Art is not going to interfere with that. I just wanted to.
I don't think it will. No, I think it'll all be good. My fear is, though, that we'll want to dive in, and we'll have to be like, oh, put that in a little note spot to dive into, next year, because I think that's going to be the hard part, is to not dive in. Are there any questions on who all is working on which pieces? Okay. Do you want to go on this one, or should I keep going?
Either way.
You lucky thing. Okay, you want to do it? I'll be right here.
Okay, so we are diving headfirst into comprehensive plan with the land use element. It is the biggest piece. It contains 8 of the GMA requirements. And it is the core. It determines land use patterns, land use types, where things are going to go, traffic patterns, because if you have commercial here, there's going to be more traffic at this time of day, that kind of thing. It's pretty big, and land use is the element. It's a delicate balance because we're on the edge of the urban growth boundary. So we have to do what we can in our land use element to help protect our natural environment that both is adjacent to the city on the other side of the urban growth boundary and within the city, and also accommodate development in the way that best protects those natural amenities. So it's a big one. So I mentioned in the handout that the land use element has become quite cumbersome because we haven't really given it an overhaul in a long time. We keep adding very important pieces to it like sustainability and climate and trees, and we add all these things and we add all this information, but all of a sudden you can't find anything anymore. So we've decided to break it down to its bare bones and kind of start over again and look at the goals. That's what we're going to do tonight, is look at the goals and see what we have, see what needs to be added or deleted or changed, and just focus on those tonight. But just for the future, so the elements, we're going to kind of do this with several of the elements. We're going to start with an introduction. Each element will have a vision, then list the GMA requirements. It'll be broken down by topic, or at least in land use. We'll see how it goes. And the rest, then we'll have a goal, followed by discussion, policies, and then implementation at the very end of it. So I'm going way back to the basics, but we're going to talk about what a goal is since we're doing this tonight. So goals are our aim or desired result. It's the big picture. It's not the vision, but it's a big picture under a topic. Those are supported by policies. Policies are principles that guide our decisions, and they guide our regulations when we start developing those. Those are followed by implementation, which is carrying out the plan, actually doing what we say we're going to do. We decided to come up with an example. So in real life, your goal is to turn your yard into a garden by spring 2015. Your policies: strike a balance between decorative and edible, strive to be organic, and strive for native local plantings. Your implementation: identify and purchase low-maintenance decorative plantings, research, purchase, and use organic fertilizers and pest control, shop at local farmers markets, and schedule a time to plant after the frost is over. Okay? So you see how they kind of go from the big picture to more specific to actually doing the policies. So the GMA requirements that are on here are prevent sprawl, encourage development in urban areas, encourage public involvement and coordination, promote preservation, designate general location of land uses, identify existing and future populations, protect quality and quantity of groundwater, and review, mitigate, and cleanse drainage, flooding, and stormwater runoff. Sometimes I forget to ask if there are questions, and I just keep going, so if there's anything, just pop your hand, throw your hand up there. So our vision right now as it exists is just a list of goals. And then you have more goals later on, and then there's some more goals. So what I've done here is condense some of the goals to make a vision. And while it's not our goal tonight to rewrite the vision, probably like some input on the vision and see. Sure. Yeah, probably like some feedback on this and think about it. You know, maybe it's something we come back to later on after we've addressed the element more. But this is what we have right now. Establish a pattern of development that maintains and enhances the quality of life within the community and sets the framework for a sustainable community by addressing environmental, economic, and social issues. Okay? So keep that in mind. We'll come back to it. So I think what we're going to try to do tonight is go through the goals that are in the plan now. Like I said, I kind of took out everything else that's there and just took out all the policies and the implementation and all the other discussion information that's there and said, let's just focus on the goals and see if that's what we really want. Okay? So I broke it down into categories. First one is natural environment and amenities. The goal is to maintain and enhance the natural environment and amenities of the city and surrounding areas. So this would be protect the environment, protect the fish, protect the hillsides, keep the trees, no net loss of trees. Am I leaving anything out?
No.
Groundwater.
from
Mhm. So is that too broad? Yes, Chantelle?
Is amenities a term that's defined somewhere, or is that whatever our imagination allows it to be?
Right now, it's whatever your imagination allows it to be. But if that's something that you think needs to be more specific, say, we really ought to start to pinpoint some of those things that we want to protect.
Well, amenities sounds human-made as opposed to natural
Okay.
to me, but those are the enhancement. But so I don't know if it fits under environment.
Okay.
I would agree, but it's also in the title, so if it's in the title.
So is the
Titles
that-
can
so that-
change.
That
Yeah,
our
so that,
title
I
or-
question that.
Yeah,
too.
so is
Same-
it our title or their title?
Pardon me?
Is the title ours?
Yes, it is yours to change. Yes.
So I look at amenities as people being able to use the environment. And that isn't consistent with enhancing the natural environment. I mean, there's two separate issues there.
Okay.
Unless you add another goal under there that specifies what the amenities are.
Well, now that kind of moves into the next goal, which I even looked at and said, what's the difference? I had to think about it for a long time. So maybe if you look at that next goal and say, we really need to go back and add something we can, are there natural things you'd like to refer to here? Or do you just want to say natural environment?
So, no.
Well, if we agree they're two separate things, we should separate them into two separate goals.
Okay. Let me show you let me show you the next goal that I was thinking of. Ensure land use development protects and enhances Issaquah's natural environment and scenic beauty. They're very similar. But this one,
Goal 3
Pairs
hits
it with
amenity.
development.
But goal 3 is the amenities.
okay. All right. I'm going to go, if goal 3 is amenities, then
Amenities, or is that participation
Oh.
in the process?
Well, that
it was
my
intended to be, it was
question.
intended to be
Versus
process.
Using the environment.
It was intended to be process. So-
Something along the lines of resources, to me, amenities implies hospitality.
There is something along the line of resources in a while. I know, they're the big resources. Yeah, that's what I was just, but there are things like mining and agriculture, and that's what was referred to in those resources. So should we add something here about amenities?
So forget I said anything.
Okay.
So I just looked at the definition of amenity, and it said facilities, appliance, a whole bunch of things, resources and whatnot. So
Okay.
definitely more on the
Keep
you
it
know,
from being
stuff
human-made.
thing as opposed to the natural stuff.
Okay. Tricia's right. She just mentioned we could put that in the discussion as well, clarifying what that is. Okay.
So I'm not sure if we just decided something, what
Oh.
change was being made. It went back
So
and
what I
forth a
can-
couple of times.
I apologize. So actually, I should clarify. Maintain and enhance the natural environment, and we can just leave it at that, of the city and surrounding areas. And then in the discussion, discuss the hillsides, the creeks, the streams, and what amenities, what natural features the city is trying to protect.
So then you take it out of the
It's
title
habit.
as well.
Yes, we'll just take it out altogether and then use it in the discussion. Does that work?
Can you
Yeah.
try, can you do things on the
I
screen?
can't. I've got it here, and I'll read it back to you as we go. Well, that's true. We could do it that way.
Are parks and recreation included in this? Because I think of amenities within the city as places to go, places to enjoy the environment. Is that part of this?
There is a Parks and Recreation element.
I was thinking there might have been, but are you, how does this differ from that?
Well, Chantal mentioned that amenities seem man-made, which would be parks and recreation and that sort of things, which would be addressed in the parks element, and that this is a more natural, Mother Nature-made environment.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Would there be a need for a more clear definition of how this relates to or is different than?
We can certainly put that in the discussion.
So we would separate the two.
Yes.
We would have this one being just a protection of the environment and then talk separately about the amenities, the park structures and
Correct.
parking and.
And we can refer to that in the
Bathroom,
discussion and
people,
say,
And
amenities
would you
such
leave-
as parks and trails, and are discussed in the parks and recreation element.
So you would leave in of the city and surrounding areas, you just take out the word amenity?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have a question about the surrounding areas. What does that encompass that's outside of the city itself? I'm not
There-
quite sure.
If you look at the map behind you,
Yeah.
there are spaces between the Klahani area, so Issaquah Falls City Road, and Issaquah Highlands that should be retained as open space.
Mhm.
And then between Issaquah Highlands and, Tradition Park, or Lake Tradition, in that area, that should also be maintained. So and Tiger Mountain, Cougar Mountain, those are all adjacent natural areas that we still use and need to aim to protect. So,
This might not be the right question for this, but where does this address the funding that's used for that?
no, it does not.
It would be an implementation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Whoops. You ready? I just accidentally hit the button. You ready? All right. So, ensure land use development protects and enhances Issaquah's natural environment and scenic beauty. And this refers to development itself. And development, when it comes in, incorporating the natural environment into it. So, building lookouts or building, using a wetland as part of your, landscape or natural environment there that you're required to have, rather than covering over the wetland. That's what that refers to. All right. Moving on. Okay. Provide for active public participation. This can be moved, now that I look at it, and you all brought it up. But it's involving the public and making sure that we coordinate and involve the public.
So this is really meaning public participation, not public recreation.
It is, and when I put this here, I was initially thinking in development processes, but, it's protecting the environment as well, so it's everything. So we can shift that out. Are we agreed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Maintain and create a diversity of high-quality places to live, work, shop, and recreate. You good with that one?
Does that fit in the natural environment too? That's the built environment.
It would be the built environment.
Yeah.
It would be connections to trails, maybe, and parks. So trailheads, parks, making sure that there's parking available at trailheads.
Well,
Making
we live-
sure that sidewalks are
Right,
in
but
place.
yeah.
Yeah, this is built.
So looking in the paper, you went down goal 1, 2, 3, 4, and here we have kind of subcategories. We went natural environment to developmental patterns. And so that's kind of a separate category, so, I mean,
That's why it's a separate goal.
Right.
It's kind of the hierarchy from
Right.
the natural, and then
The
make
development.
sure your built environment includes the natural and respects the natural, and then then when you're doing the development, make sure it's high quality and really good and I'm being blinked at. But it's we're kind of working through the hierarchy of goal. I mean, all the goals are important, but you're right. One started with respect the environment, and then when you develop, make sure the development works with it.
and I'm just saying that to clarify, because it looks like for some folks, you're going on the list and that you skip from natural to right into development, but it is separated out. I'm just
Yeah.
Right.
kind of stating that so it's clear, because it's not, you've
So
kind
we-
of changed topics in a way.
We're no longer in natural empowerment, we are in development patterns.
Right.
Okay, I missed that.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Kristen, can you explain what you mean by a diversity? Because it seems to me it should be maintain and create high-quality places to live, shop, work, and recreate. I'm not sure what a diversity of means.
Well, a diversity of places to live would be multifamily housing versus single-family housing. Condos, apartments, cottages, that kind of thing. Shopping, you have lower-scale retail, and then you have higher-density retail. You have your Costco warehouses versus your mom-and-pop stores. Same with shopping. Working incubator businesses versus Microsofts. And recreation, trails, sidewalks, parks, open space versus an active playground kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, number 5. Allow for and accommodate growth in a manner that is fiscally conservative, responsive to the community, and protective of the natural environment. Looking at it now, I think 2 and 5 are similar, but yeah.
Let's see what we do with the
Yeah.
discussion.
Again, just thinking out loud, just fiscally conservative kind of jumps out. Not sure how that fits in there. Accommodate growth, responsive to community, protect the environment, fiscally conservative. I'm not sure what that means in that sentence.
I would suggest fiscally responsible rather than fiscally conservative, because conservative has some political connotations that some people might object to.
Okay.
I'm still chewing on that part too. It seems the fiscally responsible, which I definitely like better, is not sure how it fits into the development patterns.
So fiscal altogether should come out? Well, you don't think it fits into the development patterns, or just
Probably fits
fiscally?
somewhere in the comp plan, but I'm not sure if it fits here.
Not in this space?
Right.
Right. Well, part of Growth Management Act is that new growth pays for itself, either through impact fees or mitigation or other things. And so that's in there to show that the city needs to pay for part of the community, but the growth needs to pay for itself as well. You know, there needs to be a balance, so it's not just the community that's paying for the new growth.
And
So I
there's
think
another section for that, or
well,
if
it's
this is
part-
the only place to have it, that's fine, but
We could make one. Like I said, this is bare bones.
Right.
So if in the land use element, we want to have another section that is, what's the word? Financing or implementation or something like that, then you could move that into that section and say, accommodate growth in a way that's fiscally responsible. And then you come up with implementation plans, or say through, impact fees and that sort of thing. So there are, it can be moved.
Excuse me. I was going to suggest scratching fiscally conservative, putting fiscally responsible,
with,
something along that line.
You said scratching fiscally and just leaving responsible?
Well, conservative and putting responsible,
Okay.
somehow, whatever the semantics there.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, make sure your microphone's on when you're talking, though, please.
I was just speaking too low, I guess.
So I kind of like the idea of looking at that maybe as a separate thing than fitting in there, and where it can be dealt with, explained a little more. I mean, just a simple thing of, permit fees and those kinds of stuff that you're talking about can be, I think they're kind of separate from this goal, and it can be dealt better
Okay.
in a different one.
Is there some, yes, Joan?
I don't like the words physically conservative. I think it should be different than physically conservative.
Do you like fiscally responsible?
That would be better than conservative, but putting it in another area would be better.
Okay. Well, how about, and this is going to come back, this isn't your last time to see it. So how about if, right now, we move fiscally responsible, delete conservative, move fiscally responsible out of here and create a new section that is geared more towards the technical end of things.
A
and
new goal?
Financial, even a new topic. So we have natural environment, we have development patterns, and then we could have another one that is with the goal, but implementation or financial considerations or something. Does that work?
I think so. That
Okay.
could be a really big topic.
Okay. Continuing with development patterns, it's a big one. Require multimodal transportation. I'm going to read the whole thing. Require multimodal transportation as a key to a successful land use pattern which concentrates development, emphasizes pedestrian orientation, supports transit services, reduces the consumption of fuel and land, and reduces emissions which contribute to climate change. I'm seeing head shakes. So a lot of this is GMA required. Doesn't have to be all in this section. This is the way it is now. The point is to revisit it, so you can break it up. You can just talk about it.
I just think it has a missing one word,
Okay? Wow.
and that's cars.
It's part of emissions.
Well, I understand it's part of admissions, but it's, when you develop something and you're developing pedestrian walkways and transit services, you're not doing anything to look into what you do with cars. Cars are still going to be there. So to me, it just says we're going to eliminate cars and we're going to walk and ride the bike.
Well, and to add to that, it doesn't mention bikes specifically, and I know that the overall bike community is very assertive in being included in city and county plans.
As a current staff person working on the ped and bike
Well, there's transit bikes set on.
mobility action plan right now, yes, I would agree.
Oh, okay, so I didn't even read farther, sorry. But,
okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
think that can sometimes get heated.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with the car thing in a sense, because it almost reads to me like get rid of automobiles.
Okay.
I mean,
I know that's not the intention.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that
It's almost, if you want to put it down to a basic, it would force everybody to walk.
well,
Doesn't multimodal
Yeah.
include everything we just discussed?
The word implies everything that was discussed, yes, cars.
so
Buses.
cars are there. I think that there's no question that they'll be there even if you emphasize other areas of it. But I would add the word linked to that,
Linked?
or connected.
Okay.
I think it's a good
How
broad statement.
how so? By the way, how so? Linked or linked where? Linked or connected?
A connected, I mean, multimodal, a connected multimodal, that's a lot of words.
So is there going to be stuff you're going to do
Yes,
things?
there will be discussion below the goals
Okay, so
and policies.
why wouldn't the goal be just the first part, require multimodal transportation as a key to successful land use pattern, and then put the rest of it underneath?
Okay. What do you all think of that?
Goals are usually short and sweet, and that,
These are all encompassing.
yeah, that's all in there.
I would suggest doing require multimodal, a connected multimodal transportation network, something like that, and then have a goal for pedestrian or non-motorized
Right.
orientation and transit.
Okay.
I would almost make.
Over the policies.
I would almost, transit to me is really part of multimodal, but I would definitely emphasize, because that's part of the urban villages, that's part of the central Issaquah plan, the pedestrian and bicycle orientation as a separate goal.
Okay. So right now I have require a connected multimodal transportation network as a key to a successful land use pattern, period. And the rest of that moves into policies.
I wouldn't even use pattern, I'd just say successful land use, period.
Okay, to successful land use.
Could you read that one more time, please?
Require a connected multimodal transportation network as a key to successful land use.
So the only word that strikes me is unique here in the goal is require. There's no other goal that starts out with the word require. Everything else is enhance, ensure, a very soft thing, and all of a sudden this comes down to require. And
Implement?
so I think that's just out of balance with the other ones somehow or other. Not that I don't want that, but
Emphasize?
yeah,
Emphasize,
something that should be
encourage.
consistent there.
Okay.
Encourage?
Unless it's already a policy.
How about the,
Develop?
how about develop?
Develop, okay.
Develop would be good.
Develop, encourage, all right. So not so strong a word, develop, encourage, support. A connected multimodal transportation network is a key to successful land use.
All the other ones are policy underneath that.
Is it beautiful?
Beautiful.
All right. That's what we're looking for.
I'm not sure encourage is strong enough.
No, I like the develop.
Develop,
Yeah,
okay,
that's very suggested.
all right. So when we come back next time, those other pieces will be included as policies below that,
Yeah.
okay?
But I would like to have a separate goal that says emphasize pedestrian and bike.
A separate goal that says that, okay?
What?
Have another goal 6B or 7, 3.7 that says emphasize pedestrian and bike orientation because that's what's in our central Issaquah plan.
Isn't that part of multimodal though? Shouldn't it just be
Yeah,
one
but
of the, shouldn't it be one of the policies underneath this goal 6? Otherwise, everything's gonna have a goal instead of a policy.
I would like it to be a goal, not more than that translate into a policy.
I'm looking for something, one second.
Are we talking about goal 7 or goal 6 now?
Goal 6.
Suggesting
adding
another,
one.
a new goal.
6A.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I think it's covered in multimodal.
Yes.
What, in the overall scope of things, does the outline of the goals and our implementation plans for them affect the city's ability to apply for or qualify for grants or,
Yes.
okay, so that was the end of my question.
Okay,
right now,
well,
sorry.
and I was, what came to mind when you were doing that, there is a transportation element, and we have just almost completed a mobility action plan for peds and bikes. And all of the recommended policies that are in that plan will be incorporated into the transportation element as well. So a lot of the ped bike stuff will be mentioned in the transportation element.
Okay.
So, which leads me to, do you still want that to be a separate goal, or is that something that could remain a policy?
If it's going to be outlined in a different place, yes, I'm fine with that.
With a policy?
With-
Okay,
Well, with the goal as it is.
okay, oh, with the goal as it is, okay. All right. Okay, 7? Yes,
You
7?
read that, it reads more like a statement
Yeah, it doesn't state like a goal, it's 7.
than a
doesn't-
goal,
Okay,
you know, and I don't know, will improve, transportation after will improve. That's like stating something versus,
or just start with improve.
Change will to should, and you've got your goal.
Or you could just, okay, you could just start with improve.
yeah. Yeah.
So if we do that,
All policies?
State that again, please.
I almost think all of that should be policy under 6. But
policy under where?
6.
under goal 6, it all deals with transportation.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, make it part of 6 versus having its own.
So 7's not a goal. Is that what we're saying?
No, see, the city got off easy.
No, because I think you're talking different. That's why I want to say what you got on 7, because you're talking multimodal transportation, then you're talking transportation enhancements. So they are different because you're looking more at, capital investment, road redesign, adding, bike paths, et cetera. So I think it's different. You made a change to it, but I don't know what you said for goal 7.
Okay, here's another option. I'm just going to read it out loud. How about employ use transportation enhancements to improve the city's traffic congestion and maximize local opportunities to use convenient transit, bicycle, shuttle, trolley, and pedestrian facilities. Improved linkages to these facilities will provide access to transportation alternatives. Wow.
That'll work.
Fine.
Okay. Joan? Saw us shaking.
Oh, I just look at a goal as being
short.
One short idea and all the policies to go under it. I think that makes it more complicated.
Would you all be okay if I tried to just condense that a bit?
Or use it as goal 7, do exactly what you did with goal 6 and put all those other things underneath as policy. I don't know.
Each policy could be, you could just have a simple statement, and one policy could be improve city's traffic congestion. Second policy, maximize opportunities for transit, trolley, et cetera. Improve third policy and improve linkage to these facilities.
You just outlined the transportation element, pretty much. That was you're good.
So if we want to think about it, so this is in development patterns.
Mm-hmm.
What matters here is that we have transit-oriented, bicycle, pedestrian-friendly development,
Mm-hmm.
that it's all linked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really the two things. Everything else is about having those there and having it linked. So maybe we can try to rework both of those to just have a goal that just says that.
Okay. So one goal that says that?
Oh, you can make it
Two goals.
having the development that supports intermodal
Okay.
and having it linked as a second goal. And maybe the third one could be make sure that all transportation enhancements meet that, but that definitely belongs in transportation, mobility, not transportation, I would hope.
We're going to look at this again.
We are.
And compare it. So
We are.
let's put what we think is here, then when we look at transportation, we can either put in, take out, change.
And I think, do you know, is transportation come before? This comes before. Transportation comes before this.
7 city
Comes back. So transportation, when we look at the transportation element, that comes back in July, I believe. That comes to you all for the first time. So you can look at that, and then you'll see the land use element again, and you can say, you know what, after looking at transportation, maybe we need to take this out or adjust it or something like that.
Or maybe when you get 6 put together, it just works
Mm-hmm.
that 7 will be part of policies and it will be,
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
it's kind of hard to look at that now and not see the transportation and what exactly is going to go into it. So you have this tendency to put more in that is really necessary than when you see the transportation element.
It's true.
Can we also refer to mobility as opposed to transportation?
Mobility as opposed to transportation, sure. So it's more when you think transportation, are you thinking automotive as opposed to?
That's something that's
And-
transporting
okay.
something as opposed
Oh,
to the
okay.
ability to move from point A to point B.
Okay, so mobility enhancements rather than transportation
cars.
enhancements.
The person doesn't transport anything usually, but yet they move.
Okay. Okay, so we talked about number 6, I'm going to shorten it, rework it into the other half into policies. Goal number 7, I'm kind of going to leave as is, except for the very small changes we've made for now, until we see the transportation element. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. These two are not in your packet. These two are required, they're new and required by GMA this year. And we don't have any policy, well, that's not true. We have some policies to support them, but I just wanted to run them by you. We need to flesh them out a bit more. But one is to ensure development through plans, policies, and regulations that provide physical, social, and mental well-being so that all people can live healthier and more active lives. This has to do with healthy communities and the initiative by the state.
What does that mean?
It means make
Sidewalks, so people.
sidewalks available, bike lanes. A lot of it's non-motorized. Some of it has to do with just promoting physical activity through soccer fields or programs that you have in your city. Some of it has to do with eating healthy foods, so providing community gardens for people, or making information available about nutrition. It's pretty broad. So that's why it needs to be fleshed out, but I wanted to let you guys know that when I come back next time, there will be more information in there about this, but it's coming. Okay? All right. The next one is Central Issaquah. One of our goals was to get that designated as a regional growth center. And we have taken step one, which is we nominated it as an urban center. The Growth Management Planning Council recommended approval of that. King County approved it. It's being ratified by the cities right now, so by the end of the summer, it should be an urban center, which means that that's going to happen before our plan is done. So we're going to have to include some more policies about being an urban center and what that means. So for right now, I have in there as a placeholder, focus and promote office, housing, and retail development in the Central Issaquah Urban Center. Okay. Moving on to a different category, resource lands. Maintain opportunities for agricultural and resource land uses or there's a comma in the wrong place. Land uses or activities. Encourage compatible uses adjacent to resource lands which support the use of the resource and minimize conflicts among uses.
Okay.
Do you need to, so the state requires, and you may have to beef this up a bit, but the state requires that we identify agricultural lands, and we do what we can to preserve those. Go ahead.
The other thing, the mining areas that we have, those are protected by the state. They're resource lands, the agricultural lands, mining lands, and I think like different kinds of fish habitat that are resources of the state. They wanted to be sure that as cities grew, that they didn't grow right over the state resources, so that we had to have our own a special mining zone to protect the mining area up there. And when Lakeside went to redevelop it or have plans to redevelop it, we had to be really careful how we did that because the state considers those to be protected uses. And so this is a GMA requirement that we, continue to keep in the plan so that we're consistent with it.
So doesn't King County have a no-net loss policy on
They might be required
agricultural area?
They
And
might.
shouldn't we consider, I don't know how much agricultural area we have left, but shouldn't be trying to protect what we have?
Yeah, we don't have anything zoned that way. I know we still, we allow hobby farms and that kind of thing, but we don't actually have production farms per se.
Right.
We're really good about, pea patches, community gardens we're opening up. We're trying to allow, because we're so close to the rural line, we know that there's still a lot of rural uses right outside our boundary that we want to be sure are kept alive and kept feasible. And of course, our farmers market, we're bringing all that agricultural in so our community can access it as well. So there's probably other ways that we can discuss and have policies for this to make sure that we continue on with that.
Okay. We are 2/3 of the way through the goals. All right. Changing topics again. Regional coordination and annexation. Goal 11, work with local and regional agencies too. That just needs to be filled out. It wasn't.
Yeah, that kind of looks like an incomplete statement.
That's a goal, right? No, I can't remember what happened, but I think I was struggling with it a bit, going through the policies, and it already listed things. It just wasn't coming together. but that needs to be there to work with local and regional agencies. You do.
That's a defined term, yada, 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 it is.
We'll work well together. So that'll be beefed up. 12, annex areas within the city's urban growth area to ensure compatibility with city standards and development regulations while providing for provision of the city's level of service for public services, public facilities, and concurrent transportation facilities. So don't annex unless you have the facilities and the services to actually do it.
How many
Or
areas?
if you can't provide.
That would work out great. Don't annex until you have the services. There's your goal.
Like that?
That's very, in my opinion, sweet and simple.
But that's not what this says, though. It says it's almost
Well,
it's a requirement to annex, the way I read this.
Yeah, that's what I read right here. It says you're going to annex areas.
And then you ensure.
You're supposed to annex, you have identified potential annexation areas that you are supposed to annex within a 20-year period.
That was part
So-
of GMA, that everything that's in the urban line would be taken care of by an urban city. And the rest would be the county, and they would take care of that.
How many annex areas do we have remaining, other than our?
2, if the state park goes through, 2. East
are?
Kruger Mountain and the King County Island, which is right near the Issaquah shop, the 990. Yeah. So I can shorten it and still get where it's required in there?
The idea is good, but it is very complicated to read.
Okay.
And if we're redoing the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and if there's only 2, maybe you should just identify them.
We probably would in the discussion.
Yes.
And the policies.
The policies,
Okay.
which I didn't bring tonight, just because
Okay.
this is a lot to start with as a newbie.
Yeah, okay.
Just, yeah. Foster cooperation with all affected parties
That could be a policy.
Is
during
that not a policy?
the foster cooperation.
See, that'd be a policy under annexation.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see that as a separate goal.
There we go.
Ooh, you guys are cruising through this.
Sustainability. When was this added? 2 years ago?
2009 maybe?
2009 maybe? Okay, so this is relatively new, the sustainability section. Incorporate sustainable community development as an integral part of all city and community functions to ensure Issaquah's ability to meet future needs.
Sustainable means it lasts forever? What?
It is defined.
We defined it way back when. Do I have my plan?
You do, it's right over there.
And another.
Because we had that same discussion. And sustainable and land use is, so
Some of you may have been part of the sustainability indicators project that we did a couple years back. Does that ring a bell? Where we the website said things that matter, measuring things that matter. And there was maybe 13, but we're hoping to put those indicators in the comp plan so that they're part of the overarching land use vision. So what are we looking at? Sustainability. We just looked this up this week.
sustainable development in there.
Okay. Am I in the bleeper? Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs by considering current and potential economic, environmental, and social issues. So again, it's the 3 parts of the sustainability stool, if you will: economic, environmental, and social sustainability. And we will be going through definitions later on in the year if people want to update that at all. That's totally okay too.
So the questions that come up with me on this one is when you throw the word community in there, so we're talking about difference of community development versus development in general and community functions. So again, I get a little confused on functions and community. So is it community function salmon days or is it, power and water? And so how that, in the community, they say community development, are we still talking about development of, of a private developer, or are we talking about, city facilities? And, so I think you got my point.
honestly, I think that's going to require some more clarification on our part as well. So we'll go back and talk to the folks who helped us with this and clarify. But yeah, very good points.
I can't say that I don't like it because sustainability is my thing, but to me, it's just so vague that if we really understood what we meant there, it's the whole comp plan plus a lot of other things that this should be the heading on top of everything else.
Okay.
And then we develop the economic, the social, and the environmental element of it, and then we link it all together so that it all match. So I guess it's fine, it's just.
Do you think we should put the three pieces in the goal?
I would like to see that, because that's why I was kind of doubtful until you read the definition, because most people equate sustainable with environmental, which is just one of the elements of it.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this one? So we'll clarify development and functions, be more specific and get clarity on that. A little vague, so we'll try to, we'll put in the three pieces, economic, social, and environmental, and try and focus it a bit more. Is that good? We good? You guys ready for the last one? Okay.
Climate control.
Climate control. Actively address climate change by requiring reductions in greenhouse gas and carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide equivalent emissions in all land uses, and providing incentives for innovative climate solutions which advance the city towards a carbon neutral community as keys to sustainable community development.
Say it 3 times.
It's really long when you read it out loud.
Yes, but I was thinking, sir. As the transportation one. So Trish just mentioned possibly doing the same thing we did to the one about multimodal and ending at land use, period, and then moving some of this into policies.
Yes.
Thoughts on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of yeses. Where perhaps actively address climate change, period?
I would think that's it, and all the other ones.
No?
Policy.
No.
Even that's kind of problematic.
I think that almost swings the other way.
Innovative climate solutions which advance a carbon neutral.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna be good.
So actually, then the second half of this would be the goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say that again, I missed that.
Encourage.
You were using your low voice, I missed that.
Encourage innovative climate solutions which advance the city towards a carbon neutral community as keys, period. Period.
That's good.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. And then what's above would, if it can be addressed in policies?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
More goals?
Next steps.
Are there any that we missed?
Yeah, and actually, let me go back. Are there any gaping holes in this that you all see as far as topics go, goals?
Can you go back to goal 14?
Yes.
That's too complicated, never mind.
Okay, and what we have for it right now is to actually clarify development and functions and what those mean, and then to make it more specific.
Well, I
More
know you make
targeted.
it more specific, but I always like that small kind of whatever, and then all the policies underneath. And some of those, all of those different areas would go into policies one by one underneath the.
Okay. I'll
Whatever
try and
you end
shorten
up
it a bit too, but next time I come back, or I keep saying I, when we come back, policies will be with it, so that will help to focus it a bit as well.
Okay.
Okay, but I will try and shorten it just a bit. I'm all for that.
Oh, but I know we talked about all the different things that go into sustainable, but all of those can be underneath as policies incorporating into a big
Okay,
goal.
okay.
So
Okay.
we have Do we have a category that covers riparian areas and things like that?
We have a natural environment. The first one?
Is that the first one?
That's the first goal.
So I mean, in the old comp plan, that's the only one, the
Well,
area where
we all-
fish protection, riparian areas and all that would.
And the shoreline management plan is considered an element of the comprehensive plan, and that was just updated in 2013. So it's covered there as well. Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. Next step, oh, no, not yet. Next steps. So we'll make the changes that we talked about tonight. We will add the policies to support the goals so that next time it's a little bit easier for you all to relate to, okay, here's the policy, here's what it's really talking about, here's what we're going to do. Ensure consistency with state, regional, and county requirements to make sure that we're not going to get in trouble anywhere there. Review these with other departments as well. So the sustainability section, talk to them about that for a while, and transportation, maybe talk to them about that for a while. And then we will come back. September 11th is the date that we have right now, but land use is kind of a big one, so we're hoping maybe a little bit sooner than that. Especially, so that you all don't forget where we were and we don't have to retrace all of our steps. So that's where we are for now. Any questions about process?
Well, only that you have in June, a second review, right?
No, I don't think so. I hope
According
not.
to this, June 12th. Land use element, second review.
There you
We
go.
looked at it many times today and didn't see it. We said, really, September 11th, the first time?
We kept
Okay.
going to the second page going, wow, what happened to the summer?
So we'll be back on June 12th with the goals, revised goals, and the policies with it. How about that? Okay.
Good, I won't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went from 4 months to 1 month.
You might want to look at maybe giving yourself some more time because it's the largest one, so maybe
Right.
move it into July or something. but-
We'll look at it. We'll come back soon.
Because our goal was not to have you all have extra meetings.
Yeah.
Because we know that can be a drag in the summer. Even though it's fun, it's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
But, summer is kind of, okay, good thought. And one more, do you have any questions about this? One more thing I wanted to show you all. I was going to show them like the real comp plan.
Oh,
Is that a scary thing? Slideshow.
Like this page.
If any of you were curious, I have it in my little binder that I walk around with because I think of it as, my comp plan. If any of you are interested, or maybe you've already checked it out, this isn't on the home page, on what our comp plan, the Issaquah's comp plan looks like. You can find it on our website. If I can, oh, there it is. What a great website. It's under Document Center. I was blinking and blinking. It's under your government document center, and then as you come down, is it showing there? Okay, I was going to say, is it just up here? Development. The Central Issaquah Plan is here, but I'm going to close that real quick. The comprehensive plan is here. And as you see, Old Town has its very own Subarea plan. But what you want to look at, what we're updating now is Volume 1. And Volume 1 is the Growth Management Act required elements. And they're all here from the intro all the way to human services. And when the year is the last time probably that they were amended and uploaded. So for example, the land use that we just looked at is a lot longer than what we've gone through, but we didn't want to overwhelm you with all the pieces and parts that are existing in the land use element. As Kristen said in the introduction, when we did climate change, we put it in there. When we did sustainability, we put it in there. When we did the tree canopy, we put it in there. And now it's all in there, but it's really hard to find sometimes. We know it's in there, but it's like oregano. It's in there, but we don't always know exactly the logical place where it is. So if you have some time in the next couple of weeks or months, you might want to peruse, because a lot of the discussion that's in the beginning, we're actually going to take the discussion, let's say, of the tree canopy and put that into the natural environment piece. Instead of having it just be out there as a discussion, we want to actually link it with one of the goals. Because a lot of people say, well, you talk about the tree canopy, but what does that mean? You're not telling us to preserve or protect or make it healthier. You're just sort of talking about it. And so we're gonna really tighten it up a lot in this go-round. So I wanted to share that with you. Any questions about that, about how to find the comp plan online? Okay. The next piece, in 2 weeks, we're going to meet again, and when Kathy sends you out the reminder, I'll make sure she sends it out in PDF too. When she sends that out, it's really important for you to help us by RSVPing if you're going to be there or not, because it's going to be a public hearing, so we're going to need enough voters to get through the meeting. And so it's just really important for us to know so we can plan ahead. And if we have to, we hate to start calling people and being annoying. So if you're able to RSVP to Kathy as soon as possible, that is so super wonderful. And again, if you want a paper copy, if you know already you're always going to want a paper copy, let me know or let Kathy know, and we'll always send you one. But if not, if you can do it online, that's super great too. No problem either way. Just let us know, because we want to help you to help us be successful. We want to just be a super partner. Next meeting is the 22nd. Part of it will be utilities and services element, which is a really exciting one, I think. Water, sewer, storm, wow, it just doesn't get any better than that. And a public hearing, which will be exciting for people that haven't been through one, and it's a comprehensive plan amendment, and it's about the Klahani potential annexation area, which I know is very near and dear to some of your hearts. And we have an interlocal agreement with Sammamish that we're transferring it out of Issaquah's PAA after many times of trying to annex them into our sweet city. Heavy sigh, I had to take a moment there. It's an interesting public hearing in that the council has already got an interlocal agreement with Sammamish. I've been here 20-some years, and I think this is only the second time that the council has asked us to do something that they've already kind of figured out where they want to go. I hate that to be your first one. I hate that, but of course it's not up to me. But I just want you to know it's not usually, you're not usually a rubber stamp. You're not, because we wouldn't stand for that.
What's the goal of that meeting?
The process has to move it out of the comprehensive plan. It has to go through the actual process of a public hearing, a staff report, the findings of fact, public comment. Even though the council has said this is what the end goal is, we still have to go through the process just because, we're America and you have to follow the public process.
The public can come in and say, you guys screwed up?
They can come and say anything they want. In fact, you guys can say, no, we don't think, you can recommend no, you don't think it's a good idea. That's perfectly okay. That's perfectly within your purview. I would think that was amazing if you did that, because most all the time, council goes with what Planning Policy Commission says, which is really a good relationship that you all have with council. Sometimes they don't go with your recommendation, but it's rare. It's very rare, which I think is really cool.
If you're interested, we earlier mentioned that the city are going through the process to make it an urban center.
Yes.
And the Planning Policy Commission recommended that we not do that.
Right, twice.
And
You did
twice we did that. And basically what the city, and it long complicated, I won't try to get into the details. But, the reason is, in my opinion, the city decided to do it because it's a way to get money.
Do you want to take 3 seconds?
I can. What an urban center is?
Yeah.
Okay, an urban center, 101. There's a part of the central area. In fact, do you all remember where the central area is? It's the flat area, both sides of the city limits, and there's a part of the central area that we call the urban core. It allows the highest buildings and the most density and a mix of uses, residential and commercial. And when we were looking at the growth targets that we knew we had to take, we didn't want to put them in any of the residential areas that are existing. And so we looked long and hard, which is why it took us so long to get through the plan. Where do we put the next 20,000 jobs and 7,000 housing units? That many housing units.
A lot.
A lot. How do we accommodate those from now until 2031 without harming the existing communities that we have? And so we looked at Central Issaquah, we looked at all the parking lots, we looked at no residential and thought this would be a really cool mixed-use, urban, really nifty place if we do it right. And so that's where the standards came in. And correct, we looked at how many units we could put there, and if we just did the growth targets, it would be fine, it would be lovely, but it wouldn't have gotten us any other benefits as far as getting funds or getting grants or even being eligible for any of that. And so we thought if we were to accommodate, if we were to fiddle with the zoning and the if and structure and take just a little bit more, not only would we be that it would look pretty much the same height, the same density, but we would also be in this new category of urban center in one definition and regional growth center in another definition. They're kind of the same. And we would be eligible all of a sudden for another funding stream to help us with the roads, to help us with the overcrossing, to help us with the green necklace of parks and infrastructure pieces that we need. Because growth can't pay for all of it, the city has to pay for part of it. And so we went into it thinking that, well, we know we're going to have to do growth targets in another certain amount of years. Why don't we already provide for that in our center so that next time when we have to do growth targets, we don't have to start looking around at those neighborhoods going, wow, the next set of growth targets, where are we going to put them? We already have a place. And so that was the thinking of the community is we'll just add a little bit more than the targets and have it all be in this flat area where we can bike and transit and walk and mix of uses and get rid of maybe some of the parking lots that are there and build on those to make a really neat, viable area. And the Planning Policy Commission thought it was too much and too high and too dense, and that's a perfectly good way to think about it. And council looked at it. In fact, council met with you all twice just to be sure they understood exactly where you all were coming from. And they were real deliberate in pondering it. It took them a long time, and it wasn't a 7-0 vote either.
Besides the extra funding, you needed that density in order to get mass transportation out here. And so the thought was in 2031 we would have the connecting rail to support that, but you needed the people in a certain area around that connection. Mm-hmm. So you had two reasons for it. But
mm-hmm. And on that note, that's another one of our very favorite things to show people on the website, if it'll let me. Is it going to let me? Come on, you. Is the central plan. You're not going to, okay, we're going to back up to, this is the screen with documents again. And if you go back under development and you go to central plan, there's a lot of the information that we did. And the standards are under development and design. The development standards and the design standards, but the actual plan is way down here at the bottom. And it's short. It's a lot shorter than this, which is our goal is to make this comp plan with all the elements look a lot more like the central plan. It's got more pictures. It's got more visuals. It's got more, it's more user-friendly. But just for an example, there's the map of it. But it talks about all the good people we work with. The part that I really love is each of the areas in the central plan, I guess I could use the arrows, but that wouldn't be as fun, right? Is it talks about the different districts, but it talks about the vision for each district. What's the Western Gateway going to look like? What do we think about that when you first drive into town from the west? The Hyla area, and we try to mix pictures and words and vision statements so that people could kind of imagine what it was going to look like in the 20, 30-year plan. And so I think that we just the community did a super job on this. If you're really excited about the central plan, the other thing we did for council, because they wanted to visualize what's it going to look like when the tall buildings start popping up in the next 10 to 15 years, is on that same page, there's a visualization video that you can play, and you can kind of control, where the bike path's going to go, and all of a sudden you'll see them going, and you'll see the buildings pop up. And it helps you kind of get one of those Google Earth views of what the growth might look like. We can't guarantee exactly how they'll build, but that's another tool that we use to help people visualize 30 years. Any other thoughts or questions or anything about what's going to happen in the in May 22nd?
Yeah, on your list here, you also list that there's going to be a capital facilities element review, first review.
Right, and right, with utilities, Jason's going to do those two.
Those two and a public hearing.
Right. And those two are going to, because they're not the huge land use, they're a lot smaller and concise, and that's why we thought we could do both of those together.
We will do the public
hearing first.
Hearing first.
Right. And just as far as you know, is anybody not going to be here for the public hearing? Just offhand that you know your schedules? Okay, we'll do the official RSVP thing too, but it's just always good to kind of know as we go into it how many people are going to be here. Well, thanks very much. You all have been awesome tonight for the first meeting of the big update.
We're not done. We have elections.
Oh, we have elections. Do you want to talk about how that should go? I forgot about elections. Every year at this time, we elect a chair and a vice chair, and often the election may seem not to be a kind of a normal election, because sometimes it's who would like to do it. And in previous years, it seems that Joan and Carl just keep flipping back and forth on who wants to do it, which has been great. And so,
We agreed just to stay where we were.
or you could switch, or you could,
Anybody else could decide they'd want to be chairman, and I would go out the door right now if you got that thought in your mind. No.
I like your version of an ILA between the two of you.
What does that mean?
May I make a motion to
Your local agreement.
nominate Carl as chair and Joan as vice chair?
you could make a motion.
You can make a
Are
motion.
there other motions or other nominations?
I would propose instead that Joan be the chairman.
Okay, so there's a proposal for Joan to be the chair and for Carl to be the chair. And anyone else propose or nominate anyone to be the chair?
I nominate Joan.
Okay. So do we vote on, so there's just the two nominations?
Switch places, that'll make it easy.
Visualization.
Carl and I have been here for so long, and we kind of know the history of everything, so I don't think it really makes any difference which one is chair, because, you know, when I'm not here, Carl's going to be, you know, so it's kind of like maybe a dual chair or something, you know, because it's...
I think Joan should have her turn.
Okay, should we actually have a vote, though?
Absolutely. We have to have a vote.
Just making sure.
Is there more discussion?
Any more discussion?
Just to be picky, I think we have to vote on one position at a time, so we should do that.
Right.
And do
Oh, you
the
can-
chair first and then a vice chair.
can vote.
Otherwise, right now, it's
Do that.
confusing.
I'm glad Bill's keeping us in order. This is going to be good.
You can do it all one time if you have a platform or you have a
Or a
plan.
cartel.
Oh, that means I have to come up with
Speech.
No.
speech, and I'm not going to do that. I've done that, don't want to do that.
May I suggest that we abide by Carl's wishes and that this way Carl suggested Joan be the chair, Carl be the vice chair as a slate.
Sounds good. There's a slate. That's the word to look
Second
for.
that motion and call for the vote.
Before we call for the vote, any discussion? Any discussion?
Nobody's been to the meeting before? You do that.
No discussion. Then we've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, that we have a vote for Joan as chairman and me as vice chair.
Sure.
All in favor?
I
Any opposed?
Good job, guys.
There, now we're done. Now we can adjourn, right?
Okay.
Is there any other business for the good of the order?
Anything else?
We'll see everybody on the 22nd.
And if anybody has comments about the legal training that you went through, we're looking for feedback. You know, was it too detailed? Was it too, you know, any comments that you have, if you could email them to me or just let me know. The presenter's looking for comments and how we can make it better for the next group, for next year. Excellent. You guys are all done. Thank you.
Thank you.